Drum roll! Congratulations! Welcome to the month of February, the second month of 2022. Just like that, it's already the second month. Oh my goodness. I know a lot of people who have an animosity against January, saying that it lasts for so many days. I feel if you feel that way, it's because you don't have something that is really taking your time, or something that a deadline you are looking at. For me, I had a deadline I was looking at, and January did not seem too long for me because I wanted to meet the deadline before the end of January. So many people have something against January, saying it's too long. However, February is the month with the least days. It will be the least days in a year, and this is another February, and this is such a beautiful thing for us to experience, that we are alive until this second month. It's a good thing, and God is very good. God is so good. I'm welcoming you again, as the tradition as the tradition has been started, to congratulate you on the first day of the month, or the first podcast should be a congratulatory note for you. So welcome. Hello and welcome to another episode on Rosecast. Let me confess to you, I really love saying that. I love saying that intro, those intro words to you. Yes, welcome to today's topic. And today's topic was inspired by some documentaries that I watched, and it really just triggered something in my heart, and just put something in my heart. I think I have thought about this some years ago, but I don't think I gave it as much attention as I did after watching some of those documentaries. And yes, today's topic is a result of that. So today's topic is on toxic positivity, and I'm going to share what I understand on that, and sort of how I've been able to process that as a person, even in times when I really didn't give this topic a lot of attention. I would say that, let me be very honest, I think I've been exposed to this topic in some way from a very for a very, very long time. But like I said, I didn't really give it as much attention as I did when I watched the documentaries that I watched that inspired today's podcast topic. So yes, welcome to today's topic, and as we ride in, I really do hope and pray that today's podcast blesses you, and that you get one or two things. And do not forget, if you have questions or additions to add to today's podcast, please do not hesitate to reach me through the contact button, through the message button, to the voice note button. Just reach out to me one way or the other as you can. I'll be really willing to hear what you have to say, or read what you have to say, and also respond accordingly. So without wasting any more time, let's ride into today's topic. It's easy to be toxic. Like, being toxic is not a very hard thing, because being bad is not hard. Doing the wrong thing is not hard. It's much more harder to do the right thing than it is to do the wrong thing. However, what would you do when there is a mixture between what is supposed to be good being converted to something that is not bad? Now, to something that is bad, or something that is good to something that is being bad instead. Now, when the word positivity is brought up, it doesn't have any element of something negative. It's opposite of negative. When you mention positivity, it is the opposite of negativity. So positivity is heading towards the place of something good, something encouraging, something that would spur people to live life, and to it spurs something that is just refreshing. Then when you add toxic to positivity, it's just like a paradox, like an irony. It just does not really match together. But there is something that is called toxic positivity, and that's what today's topic is going to be about. When we hear the word toxic is something that is harmful, it's something that is dangerous, it's something that is destructive. So it's more like saying negative positivity. So it's just blending these two words together may not seem very reasonable or realistic, but the truth is that this thing exists. So when we say toxic positivity, is a sort of term that is used to describe an unrealistic approach to life, an unrealistic approach to negative things happening. It's an unrealistic approach to emotions that may not appear positive. That, let's say, it's just an unrealistic approach to different things in our life that may not seem favorable. That brings me to say that as much as positivity is very good for life, there is something that is called toxic positivity. And toxic positivity, really negates everything that positivity alone is supposed to mean. So when we have something called toxic positivity, it undermines the meaning of positivity. It undermines the meaning of the purpose of what positivity is about. So at the end of the day, toxic positivity is leaning into negativity in general. It's just saying negativity, but it's just that it comes with a wrap of something positive. It's more like having a package with a beautiful, nice wrapping, but when you open the package, what is inside is foul smelling and horrible and destructive. So that's just how toxic positivity appears. It has the outward packing of something good, something positive, but when you open it, it does a negative of what outside appears to be. I'll be taking an example from a cartoon that was produced sometime 2016-17, I hope I'm correct, titled Inside Out. Pixar Animation were the ones that did that cartoon or animation, and that animation really sparked a lot of interesting conversation from psychologists and from people that watched it. It appeared to have been a children animation, but it really resounded with many adults that watched it. And by the way, I'm a lover of an animation, so I don't feel old to watch any of them because some of them really still address topics that resound with us. Now, one of the very important themes that was addressed in that cartoon was the fact that some emotions are not completely negative the way we understand it to be. The main character in that cartoon, which was the emotion joy, she felt that she was the only one that was needed to maintain the stability of her host. Now, the girl in the main character in the movie, the girl which had all these emotions in her head, she was going through some like tough times, and her emotion joy felt that she was the only one needed to keep the girl up and doing, putting sadness aside because she felt that sadness was ruining the whole thing. At the end of the day, it turned out to be that the girl needed some sort of sadness to help her get to herself. She wanted to run away from home. She wanted to, cut away from home, and she needed a sort of sadness. She needed to remember her family and feel a sense of sadness for leaving them to then return back home. And one of the things that Joy had to learn in that cartoon, and which we also had to learn, was that every emotion matters. Now, what toxic positivity tries to do is that it tries to make you feel that you have to be happy always. You have to be in a state of ecstasy always. And the moment you do not feel that way, it means that you are not worth living, or you are in the wrong side on the wrong side of the end. It means that you are not doing it well. So some people believe that you have to always be up and doing. You always have to put up the attitude of a person that is just feeling good all the days. You're someone that is always on the high end. However, that is not life, and it is not realistic because we are not happy every day. We are not in a good mood every day. We are not always feeling confident about ourselves every day. There are moments when we don't feel those good emotions. And when we don't feel those good emotions, it does not mean that we are lower than ourselves, or we are lower than other people, or that some people are better than us because they put up the show that they are always happy. It does not mean that we are not worth something. It does not mean that we are sad people. So toxic positivity tries to portray the image that you always have to put up a sort of image about yourself that is always good. And that brings me to say that if you are a honest person, if you are a sincere person, there will be times where you are not always going to be happy. You are not always going to be smiling. If you are sincere to your emotions, there are certain times that you are not going to be showing some certain things that people want to see as good, but it does not mean that you are going to perpetually stay in a state of sadness or of anger, or you're perpetually going to stay in a state of moodiness. No, it would happen at some point, but it depends on how you respond to it and what you do with it. I remember sharing with a friend that I believe that the emotion anger is not a bad emotion. Anger is not a negative emotion. Feeling angry about something is not a negative thing. It's a normal response to an uncomfortable situation. However, what matters is, what do I do with the anger that I'm feeling now? Do I hurt somebody? Do I speak impolitely to someone? Do I pour that anger on someone? Do I destroy something, or do I hurt myself? What matters is what I do with emotion. But anger in itself shows that something displeased me and I'm not happy about it. It's left for me to make sure that I do not dwell on that anger for long, and that I don't let it ruin me or ruin other people. So it's the same with feeling sad. There's nothing wrong about feeling sad about something. There's nothing wrong about feeling discouraged. There's nothing wrong about feeling tired. There's nothing wrong about, feeling down that something did not work out. What matters is how long you stay in these emotions and what you use these emotions to do. That's what really matters a lot, because when you are in an emotion that is not good, and you do something, you act on those emotions, you are more likely to make a very poor decision. So that's just the thing. The ripple effect of being angry, being sad, when you do something when you are in those emotions, is most likely you will not make them from a right judgment. But those emotions on your own self, it's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. That also brings me to say that when people say things like, "Oh, I'm worried," "Oh, I'm disappointed," "Oh, I'm tired," people say like, "No, don't say that. No, why are you worried?" Like, sometimes there's a rebuke for being worried. There's a rebuke for feeling sad about something. There's a rebuke when you express your emotions. Now, some of those people who rebuke you for feeling this way, they are actually acting from a point of toxic positivity, because to them they feel that you should be stronger than this, you should be better than this. However, in being vulnerable with your emotions and feelings, it shows that you're actually human. It shows that you are being realistic. It shows that you are really responding to a situation in a normal way. You are actually psychologically understanding that this situation makes you feel this way, and you are responding to it. But like I said, what is much more important is what you do with these emotions, what you do during those times. Now, as a Christian, toxic positivity is something that is very easy to happen. Like, many people play on the aspect of many people use the platform of faith to really be very to use this concept. Like, you could tell people that, "Oh, I'm not feeling well today." The response would be, "You are well in Jesus' name. Don't say you are not well." Or you express that you are struggling with something, and the response you get immediately is that you should rebuke that in Jesus' name. What's wrong with you? You don't have enough faith, and all that stuff. Those responses are being in denial of what is happening, and those are not necessarily acts of faith. If you look at the examples of when Jesus healed certain people, these people actually acknowledged that they were not well. And Jesus Christ many times had to say, it is only the sick people that go to physicians. It's only when you have a problem that you look for a solution. You don't look for a solution in the absence of a problem, because what are you trying to solve? So But toxic positivity tends to numb down our sincere emotions. At the end of the day, we are living like zombies. We are living like people who cannot respond to the things that that are around us, that are happening to us. It tends to make us mask ourselves, just create a mark that is not true, that is not real. However, what is the proper response? In as much as yes, you identify and you acknowledge that there's something wrong, using that to then to not dwell on it, to dwell on the problem without looking for a solution, is another end of this topic, because that is not how you solve it. First, yes, you identify there's a problem. First, yes, you agree, you acknowledge that you are not comfortable about something. The next step should be what should be done. Now, toxic positivity doesn't sometimes even give you a solution to your problem. It just wants you not to acknowledge that there's a problem at all. It wants you to acknowledge that everything is always fine, even when everything is not fine. So toxic positivity is not healthy for us, because it numbs down our sincere emotions, and it does not help us to really be realistic with the world we are living in. Now, like I said, that the Bible, people could actually use the Bible to push a lot of toxic positivity agenda. The Bible is very, very balanced in the way it addresses whatever we go through. And the truth of the matter is that we can always use the word of God to always help us, to encourage us, no matter the place that we are in, no matter how we are feeling at any moment. There's a word from the Bible to always pull you through the situation you are going through. That brings me to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 from verse 18. There it says that in everything thank God, in everything give thanks. I paraphrased it. This is a verse that has been recurrent in my life for a very long time now. It's a verse that I've always found myself going back to whenever I'm faced with challenges. And what this verse does to me is that it helps me to realize that regardless of where I'm at that point, regardless of whether I'm feeling good or bad, it does not really change the fact that God is still good and God is there for me. For me, it's a verse that encourages me that whatever I'm going through, I know that God is willing to help me out, and God is willing to make sure that I come out better than I am and than how I entered that situation. Another verse in the Bible that I really hang on to, that really encourages me, is Romans chapter 8 verse 28. It says that all things work together for good for them that love God and are called according to purpose. So for me, looking at that verse, it helps me to just realize that, or helps me to find solace in the fact that, okay, I may be going through a challenge at this moment, I may be going through something that's not favorable, but I know that all things will work together for my good. So this boosts up my faith. It does not dismiss the fact that I'm going through something challenging. It does not dismiss the fact that I may not be happy at that moment. It does not dismiss the fact that at that moment I may not want to pray. But it lets me know that regardless of how I feel at that moment, God is willing to intervene in what is wrong with me. Can you imagine that had to happen when I'm making this? And I'm not going to repeat this part. But it makes me realize that no matter what I'm going through, God is willing to intervene, and God is willing to show me mercy. God is willing to hold my hand to walk through it. And I find so much solace meditating on this part of the Bible. But when someone uplifts this place and thinks that you are going to be always happy, you are always going to be in a good state of heart, that is not realistic. God gave us these emotions, and God himself is the one that will help us to use them well. But like I said earlier, dwelling on your problems without looking for a solution is not going to help you. You're actually just not helping matters. You first admit that this is how you feel, but realize that there's a solution, and the next step is to trust God for that solution, pray for that solution, and look out for that solution. Because yes, God is willing, and God will put that solution on your way to make that challenge that you're going through easier, to help you to get out of that challenge, to help you get out of that trouble. And if you are sick, to provide healing for your body. And if it seems that the healing is not coming, there's something that God is going to give you, which is comfort. I also bring to the fact that there are people that have died from cancer, there are people that have died from serious ailments, and the kind of message that is passed across is they did something wrong to fall ill, or God does not love them enough, that's why they are still ill. But the truth is that even if you are sick, even if you are in a state that is not the best, it doesn't mean that God is not there with you and God is not willing to heal you. And even if it appears that the healing is not coming, God is giving you something. It's for you to see what that thing is. And that is comfort. It's a comfort and an extra strength. It's for you to reach out and receive that comfort that God is providing. It's one thing to share the way you feel to someone, being very vulnerable. It's another thing for them to respond to you with words that even damage you the more. And that's what toxic positivity does. It just crumples the way you feel and belittles the way you feel and makes the way you feel appear irrelevant. And that is very, very hurtful. But today's podcast is to let you know that if there's a way you are feeling about a situation, it is valid because that is how you feel and that's your emotion and that's really how you feel. But what I've been trying to stress on today's podcast is that in as much as that's how you are feeling about a situation, it doesn't mean that you need to dwell on that emotion. It doesn't mean that there's no way forward. There's always a way forward and there is something that can be done as you trust God. There may be situations that may appear very tight, but I just want to encourage you as someone who experiences a lot of emotions that sometimes seem to really not be what I'm always expecting or wanting for myself. I can tell you that sometimes it can be very overwhelming. Some emotions can be very overwhelming, but I can also say from experience that I know that God is willing to always intervene. God is always willing to show us mercy. One of the things I've always shared, I've kind of repeated on my blog post is on my blog, which is Deeper Look, is that I love to be very, very vulnerable with God because I know with God I'm not going to get a backlash on how I feel. If I'm feeling worried, I simply let God know that I'm really worried about this. I'm very worried about this. I'm not happy. If I'm feeling down, if I'm actually feeling depressed, I tell God, please, I'm feeling depressed. If I'm feeling upset about the situation, I simply tell God that God, I'm upset about this situation, about this person. But in my vulnerability and as I'm opening up to God, I'm also open to what He's going to tell me. I'm also open to the solutions He's going to provide. I'm also on the look for the people He's going to bring my way. And I know I'm very, very open to all these things, and that's why when they come, I can recognize them. So regardless of how you may be feeling at this point, talking about if you are having an emotion that is not positive, be open to solutions. The problem is that some of us want to just cage in our problems with the way we feel, that we are not even open to the solutions God has provided for us. One of the things that I've observed that has been consistent in my life is that when I'm really having a bad day, I realize that strangers are much more kind to me. I just receive kindness from strangers, and for me, I've realized that is God's own way of cheering me up. It has happened several times, and I realized it's God's own way of cheering me up. And when those things happen, I take it and I'm happy, and I allow it to brighten my day. So don't just soak up in the emotion that you're feeling that you cannot see the small things that God is doing to cheer you up. God is doing to provide solutions. Be open to solutions. Sometimes for something that I may have been struggling with or having a challenge with, God just brings someone that I'm not expecting, and the person comes with the solution. And when the solution comes, I accept it. So be on the lookout for solutions. Don't be so wrapped up into the way you feel that you don't want even to receive a solution. The moment you don't receive solution, then you're making much more things problematic. So yes, this podcast was just to let you know that do not numb down your emotions because you want to appear as a strong person. If you're always putting up the image of being so strong, being so happy, having no worries and problems in your life, it's only a matter of time that you are going to break. especially if you really don't have anyone you can be honest with and vulnerable to that can provide you some comfort. And if you're not honest and vulnerable with God, it's only a matter of time before you break down. God gave us these emotions, and us responding to them, they are natural responses. But like I've already stressed multiple times in this podcast, what you do with those emotions are what matter the most. So with that being said, we come to the end of today's podcast. I hope this podcast meant a lot to you, or there was something you could really pick from it. If you have anything to say regarding what has been said on this podcast, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Send your comments, send your thoughts. There's a voice message attached to this platform if you are using the Anchor app to listen. And if you're on Spotify, there's a message section attached to this particular topic. Do respond to them if you want to share your thoughts on today's topic. And you could use the link attached to this podcast platform, the website link, to reach out to me, to use the contact button to reach out to me, or you could subscribe to my mailing list. When you subscribe to my mailing list, when I share a mail with you, you could use that email to tell me your thoughts on this topic or any other topic that you may listen to. If you are a follower on any of my social media platforms, or if you know me personally, then you could just use all those platforms to reach out to me and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Yes, I'll still respond to you as well. If you are a new listener, or if you are an old listener but you are not yet subscribed, you are not doing well. So please do go subscribe on Anchor. I need your subscription. Yes, I do need your subscription. So do subscribe. Let me know those that are actually listening, so that I could know that you are listening. So yes. Thank you for being here. Do not forget to share this podcast to someone, to others, to people that you know would benefit to this. That will benefit from this, that will benefit from this topic. So thank you for being here, and until next time on Rosecast, stay safe and God bless. Bye bye.